Hello, hello, hello. It's Bonnie here from Step Into Brilliance, and I just wanted to actually pop on. I just got off yet another virtual call. And I don't know about you, but I have noticed that the virtual calls, while they are spectacular and they're allowing many of us to continue working and connecting, this would be a very lonely existence right now if it wasn't for, Zoom calls, Facebook Lives, FaceTiming, whatever means you use. It would be really tough because a lot of us wouldn't see each other, right? And while this has been fantastic, I don't know about you, but I have found and noticed that I am way more tired mentally, even physically, sitting on these calls so much. And so I started digging a little into, because you know me, right? I can't just, why is this the case? And is it because of, sitting still? Like, what's going on? And while that is part of it, what I've come to realize, one of the reasons why virtual calls can be so tricky is it's much more difficult for us to follow conversations, to not get distracted, and to distinguish like body clues. The things that we normally automatically are able to figure out to understand each other. So context has sort of been taken to a whole different level, and we're not used to that. So it's a lot more focus than when we're just having a face-to-face chat, right? The other thing, of course, being you're on, right? Most of us are not used to being on camera, and suddenly, even though it's our friends and our family, quite likely, we're on camera. And so suddenly we're very aware of everything that we're doing. So that's a whole nother aspect of brain function that's going on. So now we've got, visual cues that we're kind of missing and we're trying to sort out. We're on completely, so our focus is constant instead of being broken and feeling the energy of the room, right? The other part of it is there's a visual aspect to it. Our eyes are not used to staring, at least I'm not used to staring at screens quite so much. And I certainly am not used to sitting still in one place for quite so long. But here we are, right? So it's important to recognize that yes, all these virtual calls, while they are beautiful and wonderful, are actually taxing your brain in a completely new and different way. And it's harder. It's much harder in some ways for us to be able to have this many virtual calls all at once. So what are some of the things we can do? Well, recommended, as always, if you can put some buffers in between calls and get up and move around and do something else, do a little breathing, do a little exercise, go for a walk, try to avoid going to the fridge for your walk, because that's a great destination right now, but by the end of all of this, we may regret so many walks to the fridge. But break it up. So have that, do something that's a little less taxing on your brain. So something a little mindless that you don't have to think so hard about. Do the dishes, throw some laundry on, vacuum, turn your brain off a little bit, give it a rest. I know that sounds kind of silly because usually we're not doing that. We don't want to say to do that. The other thing, I think, especially with all the meetings, it's time for us to realize that our camera does not have to be on all the time just because it can. And I've started doing this in large group meetings where I'm listening, but I'm not always talking. Where it's an information gathering, I'm not trying to connect with people. I don't need to always be on video. I don't always need to be on and cognizant and aware and having to sort of focus. What am I doing? What's happening? I don't always have to do that. Sometimes I can just have the audio and I can just be listening, and that's okay too. So the buffers, the breaks, and understanding that we don't always have to have the video on. I hope that helps you. I've been trying to be really cognizant of my own mental, physical, and spiritual health these days, and this gives us quite an opportunity to practice that. But it is important to be aware that if something is going on, there's usually a reason. So for me, I started to notice that I was much more tired. By like 2 in the afternoon, I was just, brain was fried. And that's not my norm. So I was like, what's going on? And I sort of came to realize that a lot of it is these virtual meetings. And so I'm creating some boundaries around those. And I'd like to hear what you've noticed, if you've noticed the same thing, and what you're doing about it. And leave something in the comment below. And I'll talk to you later. Mwah. Bye for now.